Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. Presented by Prize Picks. Make sure to use the promo code WELCOME, one and all, to Light Years. Tommy, give us I gave us a few days after the series elimination. Obviously, we went live right after the Game 5 loss. That was mostly an emotional reaction. A couple days to process. And I'm just here to tell you, I'm in a better mental state now. I'm ready for this offseason. I'm kind of excited for this offseason. And to be honest, when Steph got the Wolves series, I mean, it's still disappointing they couldn't win one game without Steph. But when he pulled that hammy, I'm like, it's over. It's over. It was, I was hopeful, but in my mind, logically, I was like, it's over. And I'd already started mentally shifting to the offseason. So now we're here. How are you feeling?
I feel like we should be playing on Tuesday against the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. But at the same time, I'm excited for the offseason. The comments coming from Steve and Mike give me confidence that this team, the organization, knows what they need to do to build like a tier 1 championship contender this offseason. So yeah, man, like I've been diving into it a little bit, and we already got the comment saying, give me Giannis. So that would be fantastic. But we're going to talk about some more, I think we're going to talk about some more intricate marginal stuff than that today.
Yeah. I mean, my takeaway from all the end of year media stuff, and we didn't go into it too heavily, it was they seem to believe they have the foundation of a contender. I feel like they're entering this offseason. I guess the best way to put it is with a lot of clarity. They know they can win with the Steph, Jimmy, Draymond combination. Now, that doesn't mean those three guys can carry you by themselves, but they have clarity on the type of team they have to build going forward, because they went, 24-7 to close the year with those guys. They clearly fit together. It works. You upgrade the pieces around them. You keep leaning into it. I think you got a good chance. And the second part of it is you're watching these playoffs, and shout out OKC for being Denver, and Minnesota's moving on. New York and Indiana in the East, they don't feel far away, is my other take from it. It does really feel like if you do the right things this offseason and you commit to the plan, this can be you next season. It's a long season. You're older. You need to stay healthy. You need to do a lot of things right, but it's not unattainable. You're not going up against the 96 Bulls.
No. And I think the comments coming from Steve and Steph and Draymond in their end of season pressers, you can tell it's much different than entering last off season, where it was they didn't really, there was a lot of uncertainty and just okay, we know we have to make a move. We know we have to get a number 2. And that's not the case anymore. They do need to get some more scoring on the roster. There's things they can tweak, but Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, if they can stay healthy, which is a big if with their age, but if they can stay healthy, that is the foundation of a championship team. And I think it gives all of them more certainty. And they know that basically this is a 2-year ride. And if they can take it longer than that, fantastic. But at the very least, they have 2 years to kind of go all in on this thing. And, Dunleavy said as much. He said, with the core that we have, you kind of have to go all in. And that doesn't mean they're going to trade 4 picks for, a random role player. But at the same time, they know what the deal is. They've kind of taken a lane. And I feel like they're pretty committed to it at this point.
They're certainly speaking about it with more certainty than they have in previous years. In previous years, there was a lot of foot in, foot out, trying to play both sides of the fence. We obviously know how that played out. Frustrating, stupid. End of the day, light years won. Sorry, Joe. That's the reality of the matter. Before we move into it, I kind of just want to get your overarching thoughts on this roster going into the offseason. If I said to you, Tommy, what's the number 1 thing this team needs to add? What's the number 2 thing this team needs to add? What's the number 3 thing this team needs to add, given the way they ended the season, knowing who's coming back next year, at least who's on the books, where they're sitting, the roster they have right now?
I mean, it's going to sound like I'm copying what everybody said kind of in their exit meetings, but it's shooting and positional size. It really is. Like they need, and shooting feels like a little bit broad, but like they need another guy who can put the ball in the bucket. Like go get me a Kobe White. Colin Sexton, not my favorite player, but like go get me somebody like that. Malik Monk's probably going to be on the trade block. Like you need somebody like that who can just go score, because that was the most evident thing, obviously, over the past 4 games that they all lost. It was just like, you need somebody who can go get a goddamn bucket. All the beautiful game stuff is amazing when Steph is out there, but when he's not out there, it can look really terrible. So just like, even if Steve doesn't love the guy, like Mike's going to have to kind of shove it down Steve's throat in a way like, hey, we need a guy who can just go get a bucket, even if he's not your favorite player of all time.
To me, that's a secondary need.
Okay.
And I'll walk you through why. I don't think there's any construct in which they win if Steph's hurt. And it's like, I don't want to sound defeatist about it, but like there's no construct in which the Nuggets win if Jokic is hurt. There's no construct in which the Thunder win if Shea's hurt. At some point, you just kind of got to gamble on the fact that like your best player needs to be on the floor when it matters. With that said, they certainly need a bucket getter like you're talking about, so Steph doesn't pull a hammy because he has to play 70 plus games in his late 30s and 40 plus games against the Houston Rockets. So I view that as like a secondary thing. And it's like, maybe it should be more prescient in my mind because they never seem to figure it out. But like, it shouldn't be that hard for you to find a heat check guy. It shouldn't be that hard for you to find a Cam Thomas. It shouldn't be that hard for you to find a Colin Sexton.
You trying to give Kerr an aneurysm with Cam Thomas? Kerr would have an aneurysm if he had to coach Cam Thomas.
I mean, everyone watched March Madness, so every Warrior fan's like, oh, let's go Walter Clayton. But like, it shouldn't be that hard. Like, if there's one thing that there's an endless supply of in the NBA and not enough jobs for, it's guys who can light it up scoring wise and don't really do much else from kind of a combo guard position, right? Yeah. To me, the bigger need is they need a closing veteran. They need a 3-and-D guy, and it could be a 3-and-D big. It could be a 3-and-D shooting guard. It could be a Melton. It could be a Wiggins type. It could be a Brook Lopez type, although Brook's probably too old. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like those are all 3-and-D guys who play the position in significantly different ways, right? They need another veteran guy to throw out there. And ideally one who's 30 or under. Like ideally you're looking for someone between 26 and 31 who has fresher legs than Steph and Jimmy. Because the thing I saw I think was as big a reason that they ended up in a 7-game series against Houston was they were super reliant on Pods and Moody. Yeah. I like those guys. And honestly, I'll throw Post in there too, although Post got played off the floor very fast. It would be a lot better if they had 1 to 2 veterans so Pods can be a nice to have instead of a need to have in the rotation. Like in a perfect world, you'd have had a Melton out there. And if Pods is ready, he seizes the minutes for Melton. But if he's not ready, Melton is a very steady, consistent player, right? To me, I think they need at least the biggest priority for me is get a veteran who is in your closing 5. That is where the assets need to go first. And then everything else is downstream. Because I agree with you. They need to get someone who can limit Steph to, let's call it 32 minutes a game, 62 games a season. Like, so something keeps them a little fresher. Like Jordan Poole is a dream from that regard, but there's worse players who will do the trick if you do a good enough job in other positions.
It's funny. Like they were starting 2 22-year-olds going into the playoffs, and I still had faith that they could win the championship. And I really think they could have if Steph didn't get injured. But at the same time, like Pods isn't ready yet. Moody clearly isn't ready yet. And Pods can be, at this stage in his career, he can be a great 6th or 7th man. Like he can be a great first guy off your bench, help run the second unit. Obviously makes all the right plays.
He was their 3rd most important player when Steph went down.
He was. And he was probably their best player in the last game of the season. Like he obviously was really bad in game 3 and game 4. And if he played a little bit better, they might have won one of those 2 games. But at the same time, look, the guy dropped 26 in a closeout game as a 22-year-old on the road in the playoffs. Like it's pretty rare, but I don't want to be reliant on him. They need more adults in the room at the end of the day. Yeah. They need more adults. And like, you don't want to have to rely on when Moody went in the shitter, they didn't have any really other alternatives like Buddy, and Buddy honestly filled in admirably. And I think he's really gained a lot of gravitas with the fan base, and like he's a beloved guy. But at the same time, you'd love for Buddy to be your 7th, 8th man, not your starting 2 guard. So it's just like they need to just upgrade the talent in the starting lineup, and then you can feel like, all right, if it's Pods and Moody and Buddy and whoever else they all add during the offseason coming off your bench, feel a lot better about this team than you did entering the playoffs this year.
Yeah. I mean, and I just want to throw this out there. I think adding that true veteran, that guy who's undisputed in your closing lineup, that's probably gonna have to be a trade. I think you can add that. I think you can add that like heat check guy with like an MLE or a room exception or something, or you can find it. Maybe you can find a guy in the draft. You can find someone who can fill that like microwave score role on the cheap. It doesn't mean you will, but it's easier to find that. Finding a guy who is in your final 5-man closing lineup when you're playing real teams in the playoffs, that's probably where the Kuminga trade chip comes into play for me. I mean, I could be wrong. They got DeAnthony Melton in free agency last year, and I think he can absolutely be that guy if he didn't get injured and everything. But like, those guys typically don't end up on the free agent market.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because if they're signing Trenny Kuminga, it puts them basically in the first apron, right? So it's going to hamper your ability to make other moves. Like you're probably going to end up with the TP MOE instead of the full MOE at that point. Not necessarily. If they navigate it right, they can probably stay under the first apron. But yeah, it's it probably has to be that, like, and we've talked about all the names so much. A Cam Johnson, a Kobe White, or whoever, But yeah, they just need another guy that they can really rely on in the starting lineup. And I mean, I don't know, man. Our guy Sheed was throwing some stuff around the Discord the other day. He was saying Bradley Beal might get waived for a name that we've talked about for many years now. I don't know if that's going to happen, but
I'll believe it. I'll believe that when I see it. I'll believe that when I see it. He has way too much money on the books. Right. He'd have to take such an insane buyout.
Yeah. But at the same time, if that does happen, how would you feel about that, honestly? Because he hasn't obviously been great in Phoenix the last couple of years, but he's still shooting the shit out of the ball. Has been disinterested.
Oh, he's very good. I think
Thank you.
I think he's no longer an all-star. Like, I don't know that he has all-star gear, and he was an all-star when he went to Phoenix. Like, I think it's easy to look at what happened in Phoenix, but this guy's a bum. Not a bum. He's a second-tier scorer in the NBA. So, like, what, like 25th best player in the league type of stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe not at this point. And then, in Phoenix, it's just like, okay, he's playing with 2 guys who are better at the thing he does than him. And so they want him to be Draymond Green, which he's not, It just ends up in a toxic situation. He's also, 32 now?
Yep.
He's probably still be the most overqualified 6th man in the NBA right now.
I mean, he could. I'd start him if they make it happen. But like I said, he was disinterested the last couple of years, but he was still like 18 points a game on like 50, 40, 85. You know what I mean? Like
the man dropped
the hell out of the
30 points per game multiple times.
Yeah.
The list of players who can score 30 in the NBA is very small.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I get it was on a play-in team in the East, but he did it efficiently. It's not easy to do.
The guy can get buckets, and obviously this is like kind of pie in the sky in a way because, like you said, he's probably not getting bought out or whatever.
No, I'm not. Just to be clear, I'm not entertaining this as real fodder. This feels like hopium.
This is the most we just got eliminated from the playoffs conversation of all time. Like we're trying to throw anything at the wall right now and just hope that everything can work out. But like they're not going to get anybody probably as good as Beal with an MLE or a trade like that. Kobe White is really good, but he's probably not that level. But at the same time, it's just the type of guy that they need. Like that is my biggest thing is this offseason. Just go get somebody that can get a goddamn bucket. Like I have been the biggest proponent of like they can win with defense, they can win with just toughness and smarts and all this stuff. I'm tired of watching this team score less than 100 points. I can't do it for another season.
I mean, they need they need a lot of things. But watching them try to hit shots this season around Steph kind of killed me. And I felt a little dead inside. I was like, this is a good look, brick. Good look, brick. It was just like, can we just I know I think we deserved it because I think everyone took Clay a little for granted at the end.
Yeah.
And
including us.
Oh, I'm throwing myself in there. And he was being a brat at the end. And I understand all of it. And I understand exactly why he felt the way he did. But I'm just telling you, washed, missing every ligament in both of his legs, Clay can still hit a fucking shot.
Yep. He would have been really helpful in that last series.
Yeah. And I'm not saying go trade for Clay now because he's just another year older. The knees, the Achilles just worse off now. But it's like sometimes people do that thing where they overrate someone who's good at everything and underrate someone who's great at one very important thing. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, and I don't want to pick on Moses Moody, but like Moses Moody is the most B- at every skill in basketball guy. And I hopefully it improves. And I really do think so. But like the biggest issue with Moses is like you can't point to one thing he's exceptional at this point, right? And you end up in these playoff series where like, okay, well, you know, but he can't hit the shot. Okay, he's not really a playmaker. Okay, he tries hard, but he's not a great defender. And you know, it's rough.
I mean, look, the Rockets felt very comfortable hiding Şengün on Moses. Say what you want about Clay, he can't shoot exactly the same. His movement shooting isn't as good. They are never putting Alperen Şengün on Klay Thompson, ever.
No.
You know what I mean? And like, Jimmy would have loved to have Clay out there those last 4 games. Just another guy who can draw a little bit of attention away from him. Maybe it's a different series. Maybe they steal one of those last 4 games if Clay's out there.
That's why Cam Johnson has been like the most obvious trade target for this team because positionally he makes sense as a big wing forward type, and also like
he can shoot the shit out of the ball.
He might be the 5th best shooter in the NBA. Like he's a phenomenal shooter and like a shooter.
Yes.
And those guys aren't easy to come by. And like I would honestly advocate for him over a lot of more established star players with this specific roster because the thing that I know we've said it, but like the thing that Jimmy gives them clarity on most is, all right, he's not a shooter. He's a guy who operates in the paint. He's going to get to the line. He's going to set shooters up. You better have guys who can hit shots around him. He dragged guys like Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson to the finals. Steph's the greatest shooter of all time, but like those ancillary 2 starters you put around them, they need to be guys who can hit shots because they're going to get the most open shots of all time when you play Steph and Jimmy together.
Yeah, 100%. Like they just, I mean, they just in a way they need more guys who can finish plays. Like whether and there's gonna be a lot of talk about getting a stretch big, and like I wouldn't be mad if they wouldn't did that, but like I have faith that Post can be that guy for the regular season next year, even if it's just like a vertical lob threat. You know, like. This is kind of pie in the sky, but like, you know, I would take Cleveland's temperature on a Kuminga for Jared Allen sign and trade. You know what I mean? Like, I know. I don't know if they're going to go for that, but at the same time, like, they just got ran off the floor by a young, fast, up-tempo.
I wouldn't do that. I personally would not do.
You wouldn't do that?
If that's the best that the Warriors can get for Kuminga, I'm going to be so disappointed.
Really?
I think he's a good player, but like, you can't find a rim running big for cheaper than $30 million a year.
I think he's like 20, but I get what you're saying. But at the same time, I get what you're saying, but
you can't just get Clint Capella. I know he's not as good as him.
So washed.
But like, I'm just okay. I want to talk about this in a minute, but I just view Kuminga as the chip that has to get you a player who's better than that. And I know he's not going to do it by himself. I know he's not going to do it by himself in a trade. But like he is your best opportunity at getting the assets to get a Cam Johnson, to get to bring back friend of the show Andrew Wiggins, you know, to get like one of these. You know what I'm saying though? Like I feel like he is the most important ingredient in getting what I view as the most important thing for this team, which is a 3-and-D dude who we know is in the closing lineup. in the playoffs. And I hate the idea of trading Kuminga for a player that I know is not going to be in the closing lineup because they're going to probably want to go with Draymond Small. They're going to want Draymond, Jimmy, and Steph to be surrounded by 2 shooters. So that's where I go to the clarity thing. Like I think Jared Allen's awesome. I think he's really good at what he does, but I just think they have clarity on the exact type of player they need, and hopefully they can execute on it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like they could have done some better stuff during the trade deadline, like getting something like a contract that runs through next season with GP2 or Looney's contract to have a little bit more trade fodder. But I do feel like they are in a fairly good position to improve the roster. Like they don't have the most assets, but they have enough to tweak and make this thing like a team that can honestly win like 55 to 60 games next year. And that's even with like, let's say Steph misses 15 to 20 games, Jimmy misses 15 to 20, Dre misses 10 to 15. Like I feel like they still have enough to like go make the roster good enough to be a top 3 team in the West. I really do think people are kind of, a lot of the talk after the series has been like, well, the Wolves are going to beat them anyway and all this stuff. I think people were like generally underweighting this Warriors team in the playoffs. Like they had a legitimate shot to win the title. And Steve said that kind of ad nauseum. Like he really believed that this team could get it done. And I mean, who knows better than him? Like they are very, very small moves away from being a really, really good team next year. And it's exciting, man. Like I have not had this feeling like an offseason in so long.
But I think they need to be the right moves. So I agree with you. I don't think they do not need to get a superstar, which is why this offseason is much I just feel better about it than last offseason. Last offseason, I was like, they need a star. They need an actual star to go with Steph. Now we got that guy with Jimmy. And, I know he didn't have the greatest end to the season. Shocker. He had a broken ass, like it didn't look great. I know the Steph, Jimmy, Draymond thing works, and I want to see them get the correct pieces around them to truly create a 5-man lineup. Because the thing I'm seeing with the NBA, with the final 4 teams in this is more than anything, we have different styles, but the one thing they all have in common is they have 5-man lineups that work together. It's not just a big 3 and spare parts. It's the Knicks, Brunson, Josh Hart, OG, Mikal Bridges, and Cat. Makes total sense the way they all fit together. The Pacers, their lineup is awesome. Halliburton, Nesmith, Siakam, Miles Turner, Nembhard. Sorry, I forgot him. Like they have true 5-man units more so than like a big superstar 3. And I think that's the Warriors formula going forward too.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, God, how nice would Nembhard have been to have to.
I mean, how nice would OG be?
Oh God, don't even go there. Sure. Don't even go there. I mean, they could have got that done. What last deadline for according to Shams, but like, yeah, they're gonna win. I mean, obviously they have a really nice top 3, but it is gonna have to be a strength in numbers thing for sure. Like, like you said, OKC, Indiana, like they have 7, 8, 9, 10 really good players. And I do think in general that fits into Steve's philosophy very well. So if they build the roster correctly, I think Steve can manipulate the lineups and the combinations, like he likes to say, better than almost anybody in the league.
Yeah, but they need to get at least one other real starter. That's my big thing.
100%.
Guys, springtime is here, and now is the time to join Prize Picks, the best place to cash in your favorite sports all season. On Prize Picks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports, and more. By the way, shout out Scotty Scheffler. Got a nice little, as I trip over my name right there, got a nice little win playing the more on him. Went with the not common golf basketball twosome.
Wow.
Went with Scotty Scheffler on the more, and I went with Jalen Williams. Shout out Santa Clara, my guy. I was feeling a big game 7 for Jalen Williams. That was a ballsy pick because he's looked very young at times in the playoffs. I'm being polite. Young. He's looked young. Yeah. That worked out for me. And honestly, it was kind of fun because I was watching both things. I was watching the PGA. I was watching Was watching OKC Denver game. That game kind of got out of hand. I kind of switched over.
Their defense is so overwhelming. Holy cow. Like they swarm everywhere. It felt like they had 25 steals today.
All right. Yeah. And by the way, I love the one thing I do like about OKC is they spit in the face of every narrative, which is like, oh, got to go big to win now. Got to go big. It's no, you just got to have guys who actually give a shit on defense, one.
Yep.
And know how to defend and are willing to get in there. Caruso, my God.
God, he's unbelievable.
I mean, and it's like the Warriors tried to trade for him last year, and the Warriors did offer a first-round pick for him, and multiple teams offered picks for him. And you can see exactly why they did, because when it's serious basketball time, he is far more valuable than a lot of guys who put up bigger numbers than him. Caruso actually would fit the bill for what I'm talking about as a 3-and-D guy who I know I can pencil into the closing lineup. I know there's no way on earth Steve's going to be like, this is a Buddy Hield game. No, it might be a Buddy game, but Caruso's out there. You know,
he will play Caruso too much.
You know what? They need guys who are under 35 who Steve will play too much. I don't have a problem with it. So, that's where we're at. Anyway, getting back to it here, guys. Download the app today. Use the code LIGHTYEARS. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LIGHTYEARS. LIGHTYEARS. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Light Years Podcast. We are also brought to you by one of our new favorite apps, Hall of Fame. I'm here to tell you about, like I said, our new favorite app, Hall of Fame Bets. Started by two lifelong sports fans, Ivy League grads. They make parlay research smarter, faster, and data-driven. The Hall of Fame app gives you access to advanced stats, historical data, powerful tools to help you bet smarter. The app is built for everyday sports fans, so it's easy and intuitive to use. You'll get an idea of your parlay's chances to hit and identify the weak legs so you can weed them out before you place them. The Hall of Fame Bets app told me to take the more on Caruso fouls today. I'm kidding, but I feel like he fouled 25 times and the rest just didn't call it. But they have honestly, like my percentage of hitting my parlays since I've started using this app is out of control. I've gone from like 50 to 75%. It's insane. And the best part, once you've built your parlay, you can send it straight to your sportsbook with one click. No manual entry, no waste of time. The HOF app syncs automatically with most major sportsbooks like DraftKings and FanDuel. So for a limited time only, our listeners get a 7-day free trial, but they also get 50% off their first month when they use the code LIGHTYEARS at checkout. So just download the HOF app today on iOS or Android, enter the code LIGHTYEARS, and you are all set.
It is a pretty cool app. I'm not gonna lie.
It's sick. It's sick. I really like it.
Some good data there. All right, getting back to the offseason. The other fun part of the offseason for me is just like there's so much silliness. Like right now, I get like a Chris Haynes update about like Giannis has considered
a Haynes brief.
Yeah. Giannis is getting a hero discussing where he might eat his next meal. Tune in next time. Yeah, no, like you got that sort of stuff. You got the posturing, like the amount of leaks about this team's interested in that. And like, if you know anything, you know that's all bullshit. It's not bullshit in the sense of teams aren't interested, but if it gets public, someone wants it to get public. And the person who wants to get public is probably doing it for some form of leverage. So my favorite example of this recently is Jimmy Butler spent all last summer talking about how he would love to play for the Brooklyn Nets. Why did he want to play for the Brooklyn Nets? Because they're the only team who had cap space to give him a max contract. So he's trying to scare Miami into giving him a contract. Kuminga's agent, by the way, doing the same thing. So you kind of got to think about when you see these sort of things. Anyway, Friday night, shout out Joe for getting us a WNBA team in the Bay.
Oh my God.
But the real star of the Valkyries home opener, as with the Warriors, was Papa Joe.
What a legend.
Look at this. Sitting courtside. I mean, like, look, I appreciate the fact that he always shows up and supports, but who's he sitting courtside with? Sitting with Kuminga courtside? After everyone knows the situation. Like, it's not a, He's not playing. He plays. He looks kind of good when he plays. Everyone's asking, why is he not playing? They don't extend him. The leaks about a sign and trade. All this stuff in theory you would think would hurt the Warriors' leverage. Nope. Joe's got us. Joe's got him courtside saying, I'm not letting him out of the building unless it's on my terms, guys.
Do you think this was intentional? Do you think the whole Joe, I mean, it looks like this is the way he was acting with Kuminga the other night. It looks like it's a long lost son, or like the son that he always wanted. I mean, sorry, Kirk and Kent, but it looked like that's how it looked courtside. And Kuminga was looking at him like, I'm about to scam the fuck out of this guy.
Kirk's layups didn't make him that excited. Is that what you're saying? No. 75% for show.
Dude, it's so crazy because obviously Steve is, basically said, we don't know if this guy can help us when down the stretch of the season, which is it was understandable. It was tough to fit him back in. And Steph and Dre have basically said as much as well. And Joe is just so not scared to go publicly against them. The three icons of his franchise. He just doesn't care. And it's that. I feel with a lot less, emotionally intelligent people that would rub them the wrong way. And it would just be all right, this is going to create friction within the franchise. But, Steve knows how to handle it. I think Steve really knows how to handle Joe in a good way. And obviously Steph and Dre know who he is at this point. But point being, it was, as I was watching it happen, I was this can't be real. It seemed like it was a setup almost. And honestly, credit to the Valkyries. They had a great crowd the other night. Joe's done it right. He brought a WNBA team to the Bay, and the marketing's been amazing and the branding has been fantastic. But at the same time, God, Joe's just the funniest guy, man. He really is.
I think he's semi-crazy, but also self-aware, if that makes sense. I think this is all a show. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is all a show. I think the real story here is Kuminga does not have the free agency market he thinks he does. And the Warriors need him too, so that they can use him as a trade chip.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the only way the Warriors get a difference maker for Kuminga is if someone out there is dude, I need that guy. I'm giving him $150 million. If Kuminga's out here signing for a mid-level exception.
Yeah. I mean, anything done.
Do they even do a sign and trade? It kind of hurts the Warriors team building ability by using him that way. That's my personal thought on that entire thing. And I think Joe doesn't really give a fuck who makes fun of him. I think he's happy to play this role, to be honest. And then the last part to it is I think everyone's in on it because if Joe really loved Kuminga in a way where he thought he was a star and he could not understand why he doesn't play, Steve would have been fired a while ago. He would have gone full Vivek. I truly believe if he's that psycho about thinking he knows best, he is the owner. He does have the power to do that. He would have forced people out a long time ago. Instead, he loves to publicly be a little, I don't want to call him passive aggressive because he's not passive aggressive. He's just kind of aggressive. No, but I just don't think the actions in terms of what they actually do, in terms of trades, in terms of who they keep, in terms of who they let go, match the idea that Joe is actually that unhappy. Let me put it this way. If Joe was that pissed about his second timeline being ruined, Draymond would have been traded with the Jordan Poole punch. He would have immediately been traded.
Yeah.
But instead, the front office is making decisions from a basketball perspective. Whether they're right or wrong, it's not an owner acting emotionally. Just go look at the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings. And maybe that's
I love this agenda from you. I really do. Just hammering Vivek because he stole your A's.
But it's true though. But it's true. Be honest about it. He's fired how many coaches because he feels like he knows better. If he owned the Warriors, he would have fired Steve for not playing Wiseman and Kuminga. He's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? These guys are top picks. I know talent.
I mean, look,
that would have been the truth.
Game 7 buddy in Houston, look, he was right. Big like Clay, shoot like Steph. So are we really gonna go off Vivek like that?
And by the way, I just want to be clear. This doesn't excuse Joe of different meddling issues.
Sure.
And just the simple fact that like they probably would have moved Kuminga if Joe wasn't pushing to see what they have more a couple years ago. So I'm not saying he's guiltless, but I'm saying if he was truly as meddlesome as he's painted in certain pictures, he would have crossed the line and got rid of Steve a while ago. He would have crossed the line and made some changes. He would have made changes that would have fucked the franchise up in like a significantly deeper way than what's actually happened.
That's fair. It is fair. I just, I also think of like, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, like, Jerry Jones didn't fire Jason Garrett for 10 years either. You know what I mean? Like, obviously Jason Garrett doesn't have anywhere.
But he did kick Jimmy Johnson out when they had a good thing going.
That is true. That is true.
Which is more analogous to what the Warriors are right now.
Yeah, that's fair. And look, Sophia in the comments, I think this kind of puts it perfectly. Joe's delusional, but he's not insane. He's definitely delusional, but like you said, he is self-aware enough to understand where their bread is buttered. As much as he might not like it at sometimes, like as much as he might have conflicts with the way Steve goes about his business and he doesn't play the young guys enough, or like he wants credit and Steph gets all the credit, all that stuff. He, at the end of the day, he knows like he lucked into a pretty goddamn good situation. And I think that's why even over the past couple of years when it looked really ugly, he hasn't hit like, the red button and just blown it all up, because they definitely could have at certain points. Like a more emotional owner
a lot of being a good owner is just not hitting the red button. Like, how many owners in the NBA just do dumb shit on impulse because they can, and then like what's his name in Phoenix?
Ishbia.
Yeah, he's
Ishbia, yeah.
Just like no basketball person would have told him to do the Bradley Beal deal, not just because of the basketball fit being poor, but because of how much it'd get them in trouble with the cap and like no assets and all that sort of stuff. And he just went full red button. I'm doing it.
Yep.
Done. Get it done. There's a lot of examples of it around the league, particularly with the younger owners,
Yeah.
And then the older owners, they have the different issue, which is they just don't want to spend anything on anything anywhere. So,
yeah. I mean, shit. Bill Simmons, the GOAT, new owner syndrome. It's a real thing. But, at the same time, like even Joe back in the day, he definitely had some of that, but they didn't trade Clay for Kevin Love when they could have. And shout out Jerry West. Thank God.
All I'm saying is, to take it back to this main thing, I thought this was hilarious. I think it's good for the Warriors if people start sweating that they want to keep Kuminga.
Yes, 100%. And, like, obviously, I would love to still be playing in the playoffs. Like, I would love if Steph didn't get injured. But, like, one of the best benefits from the fact that he did get injured was Kuminga got a 4-game tryout, essentially, for other teams. And he did look really good in moments. Like, there's still things. There's a reason that he was able to drop 25 easily and they still lost. Like, he still does a lot of stuff wrong. Yeah, like he left a lot of open shooters and just like the offense doesn't flow perfectly, but the guy can score the hell out of the ball. He really can. And it was honestly a perfect audition for the rest of the league, because before those 4 games, it was like, is he even going to get 15 million on the open market? But now it's like, okay, a team can definitely talk themselves into 30 million a year.
And the thing about it is, he's not for everyone, but if you're curious about him, if you're tantalized by the combination of size and athleticism, if you're one of those people who's like, I don't know, man, not easy to find a 6'7" wing who can get downhill like that, you saw all you needed to see in those 3 games.
Yeah,
you saw all you needed to see to go back to your instincts instead of being like, wow, they're not going to play him. They're really not playing him. You're walking away from that being like, those guys, they're too married to their system. They're sleeping on this talent. This could be my guy. And that's probably what he needed, which was just the ability to showcase what he can do against a real defense in a real moment, enough so that if you're someone who liked him beforehand, you're back in. You're just like, no, I don't know what Steve was on, but he's good.
I mean, the guy can get downhill, man. Like
Mhm.
as many issues as I have with just I wish he did things better. Like a lot of the smaller things, like I said, defensive rotations and moving the ball, but like goddamn, he can get to the rim. And like he's been over the past 4 years, like his finishing has gotten better. He's cleaned up his left hand, like his touch around the rim is better. And he has a legitimate, like pretty elite NBA skill. He is one of the 10 most athletic guys in the league. Legitimately. Like the guy is an absolute freak athlete, especially in a straight line and off of vert. Like he's not the greatest lateral athlete, but like the guy can get his chin on the rim, which is like you can't teach that. And he has enough skill to go with it to where he can score the ball.
Yeah. So now it's like the real question is it's about finding the right trade partner. Because it needs to be a team who's probably in a rebuilding cycle, who wants to add talent, who's not concerned about next year maybe being a learning situation. I don't know. I feel like I've talked myself into Chicago and New Orleans as the destinations for him, but there could be others.
Okay. You want to go to
I mean,
the Trey
let's be
Murphy for Kuminga thing? Because I don't think New Orleans does that.
yeah. I don't think so either. That's
Yeah.
definitely some hope. That sounds like Kuminga and 3 picks, but
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is it has to be a team who's in a different cycle than the Warriors. It has to be a team who's looking 3 years down the line as opposed to the Warriors who are thinking more about next year. So
You think?
Portland, maybe. I don't know if Portland likes him, to be honest with you. But
Yeah. I mean, God, I would give up more picks than I should to get Denny on this Warriors team. He would be so good.
Denny fits pretty nicely into like what I'm talking about, which is a guy with plus positional size who you can count on to be a closing lineup guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not like they were even interested in it, but like they should have tried. Like Portland, he's on one of the best contracts in the league, and Portland, I think they gave up 2 firsts for him last summer.
I thought
Was the
one
other
of them was a fake first, though. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it was like a swap base, or not a swap, but like it's a heavily protected. Like they should have been in on that because like talk about a Warriors player, goddamn, like that guy Steve would play him 48 minutes a game if he could. But yeah, that's ideally you can find a guy like that in a Kuminga sign and trade. But yeah, there are enough good options out there. That's what I've been encouraged by. Is like they have to be smart about it. They have to navigate it well, but they can find a really good, like starting caliber player out of this if they navigate the situation correctly.
yeah. And I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on different players they can pursue, but I'm gonna wait to see how it plays out a little more.
All right, time to pay some bills. Light Years Podcast. We are brought to you by Via. If you haven't tried Via, you're seriously missing out. Whether you need to unwind, refocus, or just pretend you have your life together, Via is here to enhance your everyday. Let's be honest, probably your night too. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, Via is changing the game in natural wellness, blending powerful, high-quality hemp-derived ingredients to deliver real effect-driven benefits. Whether you're looking to sleep better, have better libido, improve focus, recover, or simply relax, Via has a solution tailored just for you. With products ranging from 0 to high cannabinoid levels, Via lets you fully customize your experience to fit your needs. And the best part, Via ships legally across the United States. Discreet, direct to your door, no medical card required, and backed by a worry-free guarantee. So if you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use the code LIGHTYEARS to receive 15% off, free shipping on orders over $100. And if you're new to Via, you get a gift free of choice. After you purchase, just say where you heard about them and click Light Years in the drop down. It's the best way to support our show. Enhance your everyday with Via.
At the same time, we got leaks about Giannis.
Oh God, are we really gonna go here?
I want to do this real quick.
Yeah.
My general perspective on the Giannis thing is I'm operating as if it's not a realistic possibility, so I don't want to entertain it.
Same.
But if information changes, obviously I'm all in and we will talk about it then. I just feel like the biggest mistake the Warriors can make is waiting on Giannis and missing the boat on other moves. I think they kind of have to operate as if Giannis isn't going to happen And if he does ask out and there's opportunities there, then you shift courses.
Yeah, like you said, I don't want to entertain it because it's just like it's pie in the sky in a way, but at the same time, it feels like there's enough like rumblings to consider it's like somewhat real. It's probably like what, a 10% chance. But Giannis does love Steph, and like the agency thing, it isn't a non-factor. The fact that they're run by the same agency.
Can I ask you this? If Giannis was on the open market and politics were not in play, so in other words, Giannis's wishes do not factor in, where do the Warriors rank in terms of best trade package?
God, like a 5th, 6th, 7th, like they're not even close. It's OKC, it's San Antonio, Dallas can put together. Houston, Dallas can put together a better package probably.
I was gonna say closer to 10.
Yeah, no, it has to be
certainly not top 3.
Yeah, the thing is, and this is why it's like it's kind of dumb to entertain, is because like it has to be a Giannis driven thing. Like it has to come directly from Giannis. Like I want to go there, and then that creates like talks between the two franchises. But like without that, they don't have enough. They don't. The Warriors do have all of their picks, but just in terms of like contracts and like prospects and like actual really good
the
picks.
Thing people don't realize is the Bucks don't own any of their picks.
Yeah.
So they can't tank.
They can't.
So they need a package that makes them relevant. Because if the Warriors gave them Kuminga and every pick, they're just going to be gifting the top pick to like other teams for 3 years in a row. Like that's so. While the Warriors pick with Steph and Giannis is for sure like 28, like it's just. I don't think they have a top 5 package for Giannis. I think you nailed it. I think the fact is Giannis would have to tell management, I'm going to the Warriors, and then the Warriors would have to start seeing about if they could trade their picks elsewhere to get the Bucks what they really want, which is probably their own picks back, plus like more interesting young players than just Kuminga. So not undoable, but like to your point, like I don't really want to go down this road until like Giannis is quote unquote thrown the gauntlet down.
So I mean, do you think that so it'd have to be a 3-team thing in your mind? It would have to be they're somehow navigating some of the Bucks picks back to the Bucks through this trade.
All roads lead back to the Pelicans, who own the Bucks picks. No, I actually think any trade that the Warriors make that's substantial is probably going to be like the new CBA does seem like it forces 3 and 4 team trades more often than we saw in the past. Remember last year, like they're in a 6-team trade. Like all these acquisitions are far more complicated. I feel like just taking a step back, let's say the Pelicans want Kuminga. There's a reasonable chance the Pelicans don't have anything the Warriors want. So they send the Warriors some picks. And then the Warriors take those picks and trade them to like Brooklyn for Cam Johnson. Like, I just think it's going to be like that in terms of navigating the trade market. I don't think it's going to be a clean, like Kuminga and a first for Giannis, done deal. Like I just don't think things will work that cleanly.
Doc Rivers was at the Valkyries game.
Did you see the hug? That wasn't nothing. That wasn't nothing.
It was incredible. But
that was a lot of Lobos in action.
It was. Giannis. He did a Q&A the other day on Twitter. Who do you like to play with the most in 2K? Kobe or Steph? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, it was
Steph was the answer to like 3 questions in his Q&A.
It was a leaked
point guard. Like everything.
It was leaked in the Athletic that he was at Steph's party. But I'm going to corroborate some stuff there.
Who planted that story? Who planted that story that Steph was at, or Giannis was at Steph's party?
Bro, there was enough people there that I don't think it was a secret. It was certainly Warriors front office, though. It was certainly Warriors front office.
You think that's is that Kirk?
I think Joey and Kirk were just watching them in the VIP lounge, just pounding shots.
Wishing
Just being
they
like,
could be there
Steph, get it done. Steph, get it done.
Wishing they could be back there with him.
Yeah. Texting, hey, Steph, do you need us? And so again, he left the red. Like,
and they see Steph look at his phone and just looks back up and starts talking to Giannis again.
yeah. So anyway, where in Fresno is your wife from? What was that again?
Did you see the thing on Reddit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she these aren't secrets. Like,
no, they're not.
I also don't think it has any influence on his decision. Like,
no,
I think he's had a relationship with Steph for a while.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious to see why the two of them would get along. They're very like wired similarly basketball wise. I think Giannis, he loves to like play like he's dumb, but he knows his game. He knows what he does well. He also knows what he doesn't do well. Not complicated to understand why Steph is the perfect person to put across from him. Some might say the Bucks knew that so much that they traded for Dame specifically, hoping that would satisfy his urges there. So
if Dame just had a better running mate, he'd be as good as Steph, right? And look, man, I hope Dame's okay. The Achilles thing sucks, but it's another one of those narratives that just went out the window.
I mean, like I think I've said it 4 times here. I don't think it's happening. I think they missed their window on something like that coming to fruition. I think even if Giannis loves Steph and wants to play with him, something in the back of his head is saying, he's turning 38, man. Shouldn't I go play with like Wemby or something? Like just like common sense stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also the other part of me, which is like that relationship stuff is real. I'm sure he's intrigued by the Warriors organization enough that maybe. So I'm of the standpoint where I'm not going to like get on this pod every night and talk about what they need to do to get Giannis, because what they need to do to get Giannis is very clear. Giannis needs to make Milwaukee's life hell saying he wants to go to the Warriors. So there's not really much for us to talk about at this point, other than, so I'm going to operate under the geist that it's not going to happen, with the understanding that if it gets real, I'm happy to pivot off of my Walter Clayton Jr. and D'Anthony Melton needs for like Giannis,
You think Giannis is pushing any of this stuff, like the relationship to the media? Like, I'm sure he was like asked about some of these pieces that are dropped or like some of these rumors that are going on, and he's not like shooing them away and be like, don't put that out there. I do think there's genuine interest, kind of like you're saying, like if you're looking at franchises around the league, like how many are there just in terms of stability that are better to go to than the Warriors? Like obviously Spurs, OKC's right there, but there's as much as I shit on Joe, the guy has built a very stable franchise in a lot of ways.
You see the way he took care of Kuminga?
Imagine Joe hamming it up at a Valkyries game with Giannis.
I mean, have you seen him with KD?
KD was the first one to see Chase break ground in the vest, in the hard hat.
It's I think Giannis is I think he's a loyal guy. I think loyalty gets made fun of because too many people use it for PR reasons. But I don't think he wants to leave Milwaukee from the perspective of life would be much better if he could just stay with one franchise and just be that guy. Like he seems happy doing that.
Yeah, I think he wants to be the Steph or the Dirk. You know what I mean? Like he wants that, but he also wants to win.
And they're kind of fucked.
Kind of is putting it kind of.
They're fucked they're fucked for next year. They're probably still fucked for like 3 years beyond that too. So
Dame's contract's pretty nasty considering the injury. It was nasty before. It's like, dude, it's like $55 million a year for like 3 more years.
No, but they're almost off of it.
I think it's like 3 more. It's at least 2 more years.
Okay, never mind. I take that back.
Yeah,
that's a substantial amount. Yeah, he's picking up that player option. Sorry, I thought he's got 2 more years because I thought he was done after last year, but he has a player option which he will be picking up. So
what is the if Giannis says I want to come to the Bay, I want to play with Steph, I will not go anywhere else, or like they're one of the 3 teams on the short list. What does the package look like? Is it Jimmy? Because like, man, I love Jimmy. Giannis is one of the few guys I would do Jimmy for.
one, you have to include Jimmy or Draymond just to simply make the contracts work.
Yeah.
So you're moving Jimmy or Draymond to a third team to get a bunch of assets. To get some assets.
Yeah.
You're throwing Kuminga in there. You're throwing all your future picks. You're probably throwing pods in there. Like, it's a lot of stuff. It's not an insignificant amount of assets that you're throwing in there. I don't know. Like, it gets complicated because now it's like, who's the third team? Who wants Jimmy? What are they willing to give up? What are they willing to send to Milwaukee? What kind of poo-poo platter have you put together for Milwaukee? I'm not saying it's nothing. I'm not saying it's undoable. I'm just saying it's like, it's a lot of moving parts for something that we don't know that's going to happen. Or
yeah, I mean, you would get not every, but you would get a lot of ring chasers in that scenario. Like you get some good guys on vet mins that you normally would not get, but at the same time, the roster building would get a lot tougher because, like you said, obviously Jimmy's out or Draymond. Let's say Jimmy, Kuminga's out, Pods is out, and
if it is Jimmy, and you would take back some other players from other teams. And in theory, you're hoping to get someone who can play a role doing that.
Yeah.
So like, it's just a lot of moving parts here. Like, if it's Jimmy, that's $55 million in one direction. Kuminga, his sign and trades, let's just say another 15 for you. So now you're at 70 mil. You're gonna probably throw in a couple other, throw in Moses Moody. That's 80 mil right there. Giannis only makes 48 to 50 next year.
Yeah.
40. Yeah. So now you got to take back another 25 or so. You're hoping that it ends up being a couple players who can actually do something, because God knows you need guys who can play shooting guard and small forward and whatever it may be. Like it's a lot of moving parts. That's kind of why I'm of the perspective of, I can do this all day, but not really worth getting into until we get some clarity on like how aggressive he wants to be to get out of there just yet. And if he wants it to be the Warriors, because they're not winning a bidding war. They're not winning a bidding war.
They're not even close. They can't even. They have 2-7 off suit in a bidding war. Like they don't have any chance of winning that hand.
Yeah, their best case is Giannis saying, "I want to go there," and then the Warriors working like hell to put together a package that makes Milwaukee somewhat happy. Yeah, we'll take Bobby Portis too. Thanasis can come too.
Oh God, your dream, Bobby Portis.
I love Bobby's good.
You won't let it go. Dude, he couldn't guard me or you on an island. Okay,
like, the Warriors play plenty of players who can't guard me or you on an island. That's fine. It's a good teammate. He can hit a shot.
Hey,
you can't tell me you wouldn't have liked Bobby Portis.
He's got some dog.
You can't tell me you would not have liked Bobby Portis watching the Warriors 4 games without Steph.
Okay, is that what we're basing it off of though? Yes, I would have. It would have been nice to have a big guy.
I mean, I'm not under the illusion that he's a 40-minute per game in Game 7 guy. Like, I know who he is as a player.
He's a version of Mo Spates, a better version, honestly.
I think that undersells it. So, but yes.
Okay.
But yes, somewhere in the middle there. Somewhere in the middle.
I don't know
by
if
the way,
go here, but I've seen a lot of this lately. Our guy No Cap legend. And I've seen this all over Twitter. Paying Jimmy 60 mil next year is brutal. Do you feel that way? Because I cannot get on that train. I don't care. I feel like and especially in the national media, everybody's like, "Oh, playoff Jimmy didn't show up." The guy almost broke his goddamn pelvis. I was so impressed for the most part by Jimmy, and I just feel like there's a lot of hemming and hawing and like hating going on when the guy is still really goddamn good. Is he good as he was 3 or 4 years ago? No. But at the same time, he's still one of the 20, 25 best players in the NBA.
I think he can make a lot of marginal players look better than they are. He actually is a guy who makes his teammates look better. So he's going to get paid more money. His scoring isn't necessarily where you would expect it to be for a second star, but I don't know, 17, 7, and 7. And emphasis on the playmaking, legitimately making players better.
Yeah.
Like, they just need to get some shooters around him. I keep going back to this. In Miami, he got guys like Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson paid. He can do the same for the Warriors.
Yep.
It's not his fault they did not have those players on this roster.
Yes.
I think he's probably, if you're comparing him to other supermax guys are going to be disappointed, but the reality is the current cap construct makes it so that Steph is going to always be underpaid as like a true max guy.
Yeah, we
And then your
talked about
second
this.
star is going to be overpaid. We talked about last time. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the Jokic Jamal Murray thing.
Yes.
Jokic is probably worth more money than he gets, and Jamal Murray probably gets paid a little more. In aggregate, you're paying the two of them about what the two of them are worth, though.
Correct. And this is why, like, obviously we talked Cam Johnson a lot. This is why I don't know if he's my number one trade target, but this is why I'm so intrigued by Kobe White. Like, the guy can really score. He's like a less volatile version of Poole. In my mind, he's a little bit better of a defender, more consistent shooter, not as turnover prone. And I just like he'd
less
obviously
likely to get 50, but also less likely to go 1 for 10 with 6 turnovers.
I don't know if he's less likely to get 50. Like he can really score the ball, but he would obviously everybody like if you know how to play basketball, you look good next to Steph. I think Jimmy would make him look so good. And this is why I'm very big on like another guy who can really create shots at like a pretty high level, because it allows Jimmy to essentially be like a souped up Andre, which is like what he really wants to be. You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you. I just think in terms of if you can only have one or the other, give me the 6'8" guy who can hit shots, because
sure.
It's just hard. Like, I can find great value Kobe White more than I can find great value Cam Johnson.
Fair. That's really fair. Like if you're giving me the option, gun to my head, I'd probably go Cam Johnson. But God, I think most of it, I just think I'm like kind of a Kobe White stan. Like I think he's still kind of underrated, even though he had a great close of the season. Like, I can really score the basketball, man. He can really score, and yeah, they can find a great value version. And you know, look, if you're telling me they can somehow navigate it to get Cam Johnson,
the draft.
Yeah,
Those of us who've been grinding tape know.
Dude, I'm starting to lock in to draft stuff. And we talked about trading up and you know, moving into the, you know, late first round, whatever. Can they move into like the top 10 and get Con Kneppel? That guy is
dude. No.
I know they can't. I know they can't, but God, that guy can play. Like, but I'm starting honestly, another guy. If you move into the late,
that is a Dunleavy guy. I mean,
100%.
I don't want to. Dunleavy drafts a third white guy from Duke. Come on, man. Hey, but they can play.
Honestly, if we're gonna just a little tangent here and talking about grinding tape, they do move into the late first round. The guy's small, and I don't want to add more small players, but Tahab Pettiford, holy shit, that kid can play. Insanely skilled, incredible feel, can guard, but he's just a little bit too small. But kind of like the verve and like the juice that their second unit needs in a way, if they can add enough size around it. You know, like they need to add more size on the periphery of the roster. But it's like, it's that type of guy where it's like, shit, there's nothing happening right now, and this guy can just go get a bucket, or he can somehow like find a drop-off pass to somebody, that type of thing. They just don't have enough of that.
I keep saying this, but like they need a guy who can just get his own shot when Steph's off the floor, and it shouldn't be this hard to find one. The league is littered with combo guards who are playing too many minutes because they're trying to force them into positions they don't have. This is the Warriors have kind of poo-pooed those type of players for years.
The Warriors or Steve Kerr? As much as I love Steve.
It's Steve. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, bro, just find a guy who can do that so Steph doesn't have to play 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. I understand where he's at with it and why he's like, oh, they make so 100%. Many other mistakes. I get it all, but it's like, it should be the thing that we're not stressing about. Like, we should be stressing about how are we going to find that big guy who makes sense next to Jimmy and Draymond, because it's actually kind of hard to find 6'9", 6'10" guys who can shoot and who can do multiple things and fit. Like, those guys are harder to find than a 6'2" guy who can get buckets and will like hit open shots.
DeAndre Hunter sucks, but he still makes $25 million a year.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's not that good of a basketball player, but he's tall and he can shoot and he can guard. So from that like standpoint, you are correct. Like it is easier to find a random guy who can go get buckets than like the replacement level bucket getter is better than the replacement level 3-and-D guy. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yes. It's the who am I going? It's like the Warriors get stuck with Anthony Lamb playing that 3-and-D role.
Steve made him look great. Steve made him look great.
He connected a lot of plays. The drop off's a little bigger than your run of the mill bucket getter. We're gonna end it there. This is way too much. We're an hour 2 going on Anthony Lamb. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, everybody.